Most dungeon masters think a dense campaign world is the key to great D&D games. I certainly used to think so, but after over 20 years of DMing, I started to notice something, and I became obsessed with one question. Why is it that a denser world does not actually make the game more immersive? Okay, so guys, session 0. You know the drill. Sorry, I don't. Oh, yeah. Well, we need to figure out where your characters start. It's standard, man. Oh, okay. Gabriel, your ranger could be from the Iron Vale Kingdom, which is at war with the Mistral territories because of the Dragon Empress succession, or maybe the Silvermark Republic of... Wait, slow down. You said Dragon Empress succession? Yes, sorry. What's the difference between all these places? Well, Iron Vale broke away when the Empress died, but the Mistral Lords claim legitimacy through bloodlines. In the Silvermark Republic, you also have the Stonecarvers Guild and the Riverman's Alliance controlling trade routes. Okay, but which one would my ranger actually care about? Well, it's up to you. Dude, remember, we're not in your head. When you front-load complexity, you create decision paralysis and make it harder for your players to enter your world. As beautiful and detailed as it might be, it becomes a barrier to entry rather than a hook. But what if we tried something different? Okay, so one thing is for sure though, Gabriel, because your character grew up, around here, they grew up hearing stories about 3 things that shaped these borderlands. The cursed forest that took your uncle. Okay. The golden city where fortunes are made. Sounds expensive. And the night market where anything can be bought. Maybe one of them resonates particularly with your character? Well, yeah. I mean, there is no right answer. Yeah, I guess the night market sounds cool. Cooler than the cursed forest anyway. Sorry, man. But come on. Cursed forest. Maybe my ranger's always been curious about forbidden things. Perfect. Yeah. Limiting choices might seem counterintuitive, but it's a great way to create focus and engagement. Instead of overwhelming the players with everything we prepared, we're giving them 3 immediate hooks they can emotionally connect to. This really helps for character creation. But what about when, we start playing? You enter the city. It's a beautiful day. I want to find someone who knows about the night market. So the night market involves 7 different criminal organizations, 3 noble houses, and ancient guild politics. How do I explain all this context? You okay, dude? Sorry. Well, the night market is controlled by competing factions, including the Shadowhand Consortium, which has ties to the... My character knows all this? I guess so. How do I know what I know? And where do I start looking? When your world is too detailed, something strange can happen. Knowledge gaps appear. The character and the player don't have the same level of world knowledge. The players are drowning in information their character would naturally understand. So they start feeling dumb, and it makes them sit in the passenger seat. But what if we flipped this? You enter the city. It's a beautiful day. I want to find someone who knows about the night market. Perfect. Who would your ranger trust with questions about something so secretive? Someone who looks like they've seen things, but isn't obviously a criminal. So like a shady librarian? No, more like worldly, but trustworthy. Your uncle, before disappearing, told you about this old map seller, Vera. Be real, man. Everybody knows there's only taverns in D&D. What? Ignore him. Vera has knowing eyes, and... Let's meet her. What your players know about their characters can become a powerful world-building tool. When you use this approach, they're not passive recipients of exposition. They become active creators of the information they need. This helps a ton with immersion, but there's still a bigger issue. You know what? I'm glad we're helping the merchants. Seems like the night market guys have been threatening them for a long time. Yeah, we're basically saving the world here. Well, compared to what's happening in the Dragon Empire with the Void Lords, I mean... Wait, what's happening with Void Lords? Oh, you didn't read what I sent you? To be honest, man, you sent a lot of stuff. Well, massive demon invasions, dimensional rifts, there are archmages fighting chrono aberrations. Where is that? A neighboring kingdom?
And we are chasing smugglers. I guess it's something.
If your world is very dense, chances are you put some epic things in there. I mean, chrono aberrations, who wouldn't like that? But you risk making the current stakes your players are experiencing feel trivial by comparison, especially if they can't interact with those cool things. But what if we controlled information flow? We solved the night market conspiracy.
Should I tell him?
What?
We solved a part of it. Probably like 15%.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I still have levels to earn.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, you level up. Congrats.
Yes.
Yes. Let's go. As you take a well-deserved rest at the tavern, the innkeeper tells you old rumors about strange activity at the Empire's borders have been resurfacing.
Strange how?
Merchants fleeing, claiming something about darkness spreading. But no official word. Wait, what if our smugglers were connected to something bigger? All the issues we've been talking about so far share one common trait. Front-loaded complexity with your world's details will overwhelm players instead of drawing them in. To avoid this trap, first, I suggest you design information hierarchies. For each major world element, create 3 knowledge layers. Immediate relevance, what affects characters right now. Background context, what explains current situations. And epic scope, what exists but isn't immediately relevant. This lets you start with layer 1 and reveal deeper layers only when players are invested. Then you bridge character knowledge through discovery prompts in your prep notes. For each important world element, write 2 to 3 questions that help players define what their character would know. For example, who would your ranger trust for dangerous information? Or what would your character recognize about trade disruption? This helps transfer world knowledge from your notes into character perspective, making it easier to turn players into active contributors. And then you link epic elements to immediate concerns when building your world's larger conflicts. For every major war, powerful faction, or world-shaking event you create, define how it affects character-level problems before developing the epic details. The Voidlord War disrupts border trade routes and creates a refugee problem, which are immediate concerns, before you design chrono aberration battles and dimensional politics, which are epic details. This ensures big world events enhance current stakes, rather than making them feel small and irrelevant. By the way, have you ever felt like no matter how good your world building is, players always find a way to derail everything you prepare? That's why I created the Plot Engineering Blueprint. It's a short guide that helps you build more flexible stories that adapt to players' choices. Kinda like your story survival kit. And you can download it for free by clicking the link in the description. What if we tried to broker peace between these 2 kingdoms? Cut off the night market's profit source? Well, actually, that wouldn't work. Why? What do you mean? Because the Eidveld Kingdom has never forgiven the betrayal of 1287. The what now? Well, their entire culture is built around this grudge. So his idea is impossible because of your history book? The protection instinct. When you invest heavily in detailed prep, you start protecting your creation instead of embracing player creativity. Your detailed world becomes a museum piece to be admired, not a collaborative space to be shaped. And yeah, it feels that. But what if there was a solution? What if we tried to broker peace between these kingdoms? Wait, aren't those guys mortal enemies or something? Well, they are, but what would peace look like to you? Well, maybe they could unite against the real enemy. Meaning? Well, the crime lords. They're profiting from the conflict. And what would each kingdom need to give up to move forward? I don't know. We negotiate? Okay, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, you could try talking some emissaries. Actually, you heard rumors about a ball at the Ambassador's Palace soon. Instead of protecting predetermined details, you can use players' choices to build an even better story. Collaborative building creates investment for everyone and makes the world feel alive. This works great for big choices, but sometimes smaller disruptions still sting. Hey, you know what? What? Let's just expose the shadow merchants during the negotiations. Oh, yeah, you mean let the authorities handle it? Mm-hmm. You don't want to fight them anymore? I mean, we would be fighting them by using the overly enthusiastic city watch you had us meet on several occasions. You just want to skip the dramatic confrontation. Why would we fight them when we can just ruin them? We spent so much time on these guys. Well, okay. Dude, you okay? You look like we killed your pet. Detail creations become precious, and players killing your darlings hurts more than it should. When you invest hours in complex faction dynamics, watching players bypass it all with one unplanned scene can feel devastating. But what if there was another way? You know what? Let's just expose the shadow merchants during the peace negotiations. You can absolutely do that. How do you want to present the evidence? We could address both kingdoms at once. Perfect. So you're essentially blowing up their entire secret network in front of everyone. Yeah, no more hiding. Hold on. Love it. This should be interesting. Wait, why do you have that look? Oh, it's nothing, you know. It's just cornered criminals can get creative. Creative how? I guess we'll find out. Roll for persuasion. Designing for destruction turns player chaos into story fuel. The destruction becomes the setup for even more interesting complications. This helps with emotional attachment and makes your world feel more alive. But there's still a practical problem most DMs face eventually. We discussed it, and we want to establish a new joint peacekeeping force in the valley between kingdoms. Dude, chill. Well, the military structures in place have specific command hierarchies, and the political map shows the valley is disputed territory because of the Stonecarvers Guild rights. Also, the two armies could never work together because... Let me guess. More ancient history? Guys, I mean, your idea is cool, okay? It just doesn't fit in this world. I don't know, you wouldn't ask the French to stop going on strike. Come on. It's not that bad. Stonecarvers also love their rights, so we can do it. It's just really complicated. A detailed world often means detailed interconnections, which can create fragility, where changing one thing breaks everything else. Your world then becomes a house of cards, where player creativity threatens structural collapse. But what if there was an easy fix? We want to establish a joint peacekeeping force in the valley. Okay, so that valley belongs to the Stonecarvers Guild. How do you want to approach them? Wait, we need their permission? Maybe we could offer them something, like exclusive building contracts. You can certainly try that. And for the military side, how would command work between two kingdoms? Rotating command, maybe? So nobody feels subordinate? That could actually work. All right, let's see how this plays out. Who do you approach first? Using existing details as building blocks for player ideas is much more efficient. Making those details flexible enough to incorporate player creativity rather than rigid barriers is what makes your world feel alive. These last few issues share one common trait. Pre-built detail creates attachment and inflexibility. You're designing museum pieces to be admired, not collaborative spaces to be shaped. So, to build worlds that bend instead of break, first, separate purpose from method in your world details. When prepping factions, locations, or conflicts, write down their core purpose separately from how they currently operate. The Shadow Merchant's purpose is profit from regional instability, but that doesn't lock you into specific methods. This gives you flexibility when players propose alternative approaches. Then you create redirect anchors for each major story element. For every detailed creation, identify 2 to 3 ways it could contribute to story even if players bypass your planned approach. The shadow merchants can drive story through public exposure consequences, through desperate individual actions, or through revealing larger conspiracies. When players kill your darlings, you then have immediate alternatives ready. And finally, you design connection buffers between your detailed systems. Instead of direct interdependence, create intermediate layers that can absorb player changes. Don't connect the Stonecarvers Guild directly to military commands. Connect them through valley development rights that can be negotiated, traded, or restructured. This lets you modify one system without breaking everything else. This makes your world feel a lot more alive. But what if succeeding at all these techniques was actually the worst thing that could happen to your campaign? So, what's Lieutenant Morris up to these days?
Morris. I know I wrote something about him.
Take your time, dude. And Captain Rodriguez? How are these former smugglers doing?
Okay, so Rodriguez, was he the skeptical one or the ambitious one? And the smugglers were somewhere in there.
Are you okay? What do you mean? You look like you're drowning. I've got 3 years of NPCs in there, so gotta search on top of prep. It's okay, man. I was just curious. Let's forget them. After a while, even organized DMs hit the same wall. Too much accumulated detail to track effectively. All this world building, and you kill momentum just like that. You just can't memorize an encyclopedia. But what if you could fix this by playing smarter? So, what's Lieutenant Morris up to these days?
Morris, ambitious academy type, right?
Well, given all your recent victories, he's been promoted to Commandant.
Makes sense.
What about Rodriguez? Well, skeptical captain, last seen session 15. He's probably still aware of you, but respects your track record. Your prep sheet knows when we last saw people.
Yep.
I'm not even sure I want to know how you do this, but this is awesome. You shouldn't have to choose between detail tracking or pure improvisation. Combining confident improv skills with intelligent automation gives you the best of both worlds. I think you should strive to get good enough at logical extrapolation to handle surprises, but also use smart tools to automatically surface relevant context. We're in 2025, and we're lucky to have tools like Obsidian or Notion at our disposal for free. Used properly, they can do a lot of heavy lifting. On that note, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video on how I use Obsidian to speed up prep and, avoid drowning. Here's how to avoid burnout and keep your head above water when you're DMing. First, develop pattern-based improv by categorizing NPCs into simple archetypes during prep. Ambitious military, skeptical authority, and reformed criminal, for example. When you're caught off guard by your players, you can instantly extrapolate logical current states from their type and recent events. Then, consider starting to use a good note-taking app to classify your world-building notes and use automated context retrieval with tags and smart queries. I personally love Obsidian, but Notion and other similar apps can work very well too. Set up templates that auto-generate NPCs in this area and last player interaction lists for each session. This helps you focus your prep time on what's new, not remembering what's old. And then you create session boundary rituals that keep your system sustainable. After each session, spend 5 minutes updating NPC notes with any major changes using some form of tagging. In addition, you should probably archive NPCs players haven't mentioned in months into background status. This prevents accumulation from overwhelming your active tracking. This transforms 3 years of accumulated detail from a burden into an intelligent, searchable asset that enhances rather than overwhelms your game preparation. Your world now builds itself through play, and you can finally stop fighting against it. It's alive and well. But here's what's crazy about everything we just covered. The real secret isn't just making your world respond to players. It's making sure you're actually excited to run the sessions where that responsiveness happens. Because even when you know what makes a world breathe, let's be honest, how do you know where to start? So click on this video next to learn what I'd focus on if I started a D&D campaign next week, and how to transform your prep from homework into addiction.